Welcome to EdTech Mondays Nigeria, brought to you by the MasterCard Foundation in partnership with Co-Creation Hub Limited. The EdTech Mondays is a platform to facilitate critical conversations on the use of technology for teaching and learning by bringing together key stakeholders, including policymakers, EdTech entrepreneurs, teachers, and parents. My name is Joyce Daniels, your regular host on the show, and I'd like to say a big welcome to all our listeners. Thank you for clicking in or tuning in. And if you've been listening to us over the past number of months, thank you for listening again. Our topic for today is celebrating African women in education and technology. Yay! This is indeed the month where we celebrate women across the world. All over the world, women have made tremendous contributions to the economic, political, cultural, and educational development of every society in the world, even where they have faced disproportionate challenges in unfavorable. To accelerate the global aspirations of achieving a more equitable world by 2030, it is important that the stories of women breaking the bias are celebrated and also amplified for young girls to be inspired by. Educating the girl child goes beyond enrollment in schools. It also is about ensuring that girls have the opportunity to complete their education and then acquire the knowledge and skills necessary to thrive, succeed, and contribute to a sustainable, prosperous, and more equitable world. According to UNESCO, girls' education strengthens economies and reduces inequality. It contributes to more stable, resilient societies that give all individuals, including boys and men, the opportunity to fulfill their potential. So, in this edition today, we'll be putting the spotlight on some women who are excelling in education and technology. We hope that their stories, their struggles, their achievements as women will inspire girls and other women to continue to dream big and also to not relent in the pursuit of excellence in their chosen fields. We'd love to hear from you, our listeners. Please tell us, in what ways can we amplify the achievement of women as a means of promoting gender equity in the fields of education and technology? Send us a message on our Telegram channel, EdTech Mondays Nigeria. You can also send us a text or WhatsApp message on 0703 165 0809. That is 0703 165 0809, and let us know what you think. I'm excited about our three African women who we shall be celebrating today as we discuss celebrating African women in education and technology. First off, even though in no particular order, is Dr. Adefunke Ekine, who has over 25 years of experience as an educator in Southwestern Nigeria. She has worked for 11 years as a university lecturer at Solarin University of Education, Ijagun, Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State, and she has also served on the board of numerous research and academic committees. She was named one of the 100 global thinkers of 2013 by Lo Spazio della Politica. She holds a PhD in early childhood education, as well as several other degrees from the universities of Ibadan and Ife. Dr. Ekine is the founder of Youth Care Development and Empowerment Initiative and has secured research and implementation grants for innovative girls' education, STEM, and gender-based violence intervention from partner organizations, including the Ford Foundation and TED Fund. Welcome, Dr. Ekine. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Joyce. It's an honor to be here this morning.
Awesome. The honor is actually ours. Joining us also is Nduka Oyom, who is the founder of She Code Africa, a non-profit organization focused on empowering young girls and women in Africa through technical skills. Through She Codes Africa, she has impacted over 10,000 women across 17 African countries with her team since 2016. while championing gender diversity in tech through it. Ada is the co-founder of Open Source Community Africa, one of the largest communities for open source enthusiasts, advocates, and experts across Africa. Her expertise in developer relations and staunch advocacy for developers within Africa has earned her roles in several top organizations globally, including her current engagement as the Ecosystem Community Manager for Sub-Saharan Africa with Google. Ada, it's such an honor to have you here with us.
Hi, Joyce. Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
I'm really excited about this.
Yes. And our third champion for today is Judith Okonkwo, who is a technology evangelist, a business psychologist, and an organization development consultant with experience working in Africa, Asia, and Europe. She sits on the board of the European Organization Design Forum. She advises startups, not-for-profits, and SMEs on emerging technologies. And she's also a guest lecturer at several higher education institutions. She's also the creator of the Oriki coaching model and co-founder of We Will Lead Africa. In 2016, Judith set up Imisi 3D, a creation lab in Lagos focused on building the African ecosystem for extended reality technologies and connecting XR communities across the continent. She made it to the Forbes list of the top 50 XR experiences for 2019 for the Imisi 3D's most recent VR film production, Lagos at Large. She's a fellow of the Royal Society of Arts, an associate fellow of the British Psychology Society, and a current member of the World Economic Forum's Global Future Council for Augmented and Virtual Reality. Judith Obokian, as we'll say somewhere in Edo State, welcome.
Thank you so much, Joyce. What a pleasure it is to be here with you all.
Thank you for honoring our invitation. As you all will already know, and I'm sure many of our listeners know, there is a consequential gap that exists throughout the years in different education disciplines all over the world, especially in STEM disciplines. Despite the increased enrollment and participation of women in higher education and the amazing contributions that they are making in education like yourselves, we are still underrepresented in STEM-related fields. In fact, according to a report by the World Bank, women still account for only 28% of engineering graduates and 40% of graduates in computer science, and in fields such as artificial intelligence, only 1 in 5 professionals is female. I'm sure this statistic is not new to you. So my question to you all, and I would like Dr. Ekine to take the lead, then Ada, and then Judith. How did you get here to this level of incredible success in your career in fields where gender parity is still a challenge? We'd like to know what's the journey been like for you? What inspired you? What enabled you along your journey? Dr. Ekine, please.
Thank you, Joyce. I want to say that the statistics that you reeled out, it's still just the same, even though some people say we've made a little gain. One of the things that have kept me is, I'll say, my late mother. Okay. Each time I talk about her, and it still brings goosebumps all over my body. She was an illiterate, where she had just 2 girls, 15 years apart. And she so much believed in the girl child that she made sure we went to school. Coming from a polygamous house, she was not intimidated by those that had boys, but she just believed that the opportunity she didn't have, she could put it in her girls. And I remember as a growing up girl, my mother will always tell me, don't ever wait to depend on any man to become what you want to become. She normally says it in Yoruba, in our dialect. And it's now that I've grown up that I actually understood deeper the things she was saying, now that I'm into gender education and all those. But I just knew that my mother treated us well, as equal as the boys. And while we were growing up, she will always make even both the boys and the girls to go to the kitchen. And she will always tell me, Funke, if you don't go to school, you become the slave of those that went to school. So she was very passionate about our education. She made sure I had the good foundation. And well, naturally, in secondary school, when you pass your WAEC, you make good grades in maths, physics, chemistry, and all those. They just said that you can just go into science classes. So my senior sister actually chose the engineering course that I did and said, I think you can do this while we're filling our JAM form. So that's how I started on this part of STEM. I won't say I chose it, but I knew I did at least I did above average in my science courses. But just a turn but my adult life now, I find myself as an educator. And I'll say the turn is to the better because I work with children, I work with teachers in the elementary schools in my university now, and you'll find out that the problem actually starts from that age. When we focus on secondary school and university, it is too late. In literature, they call it a leaky pipeline because you see that children up to age 10, they're very good in maths. They compare favorably with boys and girls. But as they progress and they get to secondary school, they just drop out from the science classes. And that's why it's called a leaky pipeline, something that just brings them out. So I would say my mom was really my inspiration. She made sure that whatever I wanted, I did. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We celebrate your mom, true African woman. In fact, we can say she's an African woman in STEM since she put you indirectly in the STEM field. Mama, we celebrate you wherever you are. Ada, tell us about your story.
Yeah, so for mine, I would say that I stumbled into tech. There was no intention at all. And
was Dr. Ekine's sister with you as well? Your jam form.
So I would definitely agree to the part where she talks about having a leaky pipeline in the education system, because once I got into secondary school, like I did not like anything regarding maths. But I was in science department, but I did not enjoy anything maths. My love for biology and biological sciences was what I wanted to focus on in the university. I wanted to be a doctor. But then my second year, I just stumbled on this meetup, a random meetup while in the university. I attended it, and there I picked up an interest, but it was still a thing of contemplating, do I want to switch to computer science or do I want to continue? Because I was studying microbiology, do I want to continue microbiology? And I think the fear of Nigerian education system, just focus on your microbiology and try to continue your learning outside everything microbiology. Until my final year, I decided to make that decision of, somebody gave me a laptop because I didn't even have a laptop. I was learning how to program my phone. So someone gave me a laptop and I was like, okay, I finally have a laptop. So maybe I'm going to focus on tech and see where it takes me to. In all reality, studying microbiology in Nigeria it's quite bad. You're not so sure of the future for you. So I had to just make do of what I can with my time and everything. And then I started out tech. And that was where the idea for She Could Africa even picked up from. So yeah, that's like my journey.
Fantastic. We're closing your own gaps. Judith, please tell us something about your journey and some of your inspiration so far.
Thank you very much. And just props to my co-panelists and the incredible stories. And actually, like Adefunke said, I want to give a shout out to my mom, who really did believe that I could do anything that I put my mind to. And I'm an only daughter and she's an only daughter. And she always used to say to me, when they ask you how, just tell them you're the only daughter of the only daughter. So there's that element. But apart from that, I think I'd always a very sort of curious child. I was always very interested in the future and technology. Professionally, I'm a business psychologist, so I did study psychology for my first and second degrees. But I often explain that, I was in London and I was attempting to do a PhD and study leadership in Africa, which is another interest of mine, and thought that, I'd better come back to the continent and do that here if it's going to be meaningful in any way, shape, or form. And I was exploring different cities around the continent. I went to Addis, I went to, Nairobi, I went to Accra, I came to Lagos, and this was just the softest landing. And I happened, and this was, the very beginning of 2014, which was when there was this revival in our tech ecosystem that was happening.
Okay.
And I happened to engage with some of the key players there today. And they were doing really exciting things. And I thought I just had to like support in anywhere I could. So the very first thing that I did, which was the real sort of like jump in, was helping Andela get set up in Lagos and Nairobi. I spent a year with them doing that. And then after that, really, literally, there was no going back. So it was sort of like that experience. And then with the technologies that I work with, the fact that they were coming into the consumer space around that time as well, 2014, 2015, because previously you couldn't readily access VR as a consumer. I think those factors all came together.
Fantastic. So some common thread I'm hearing about across all three of you is something sparked your interest somewhat and you decided to give it a go. And there is something I have noticed, which I will bring up in a future conversation to Dr. Ekine soon, about that leaky, what do you call it? Leaky what?
Leaky pipeline.
Leaky pipeline. I would ask you a question about that soon. But let me come back to Judith, since you last spoke. Are there times that you've been challenged as a result of your gender? And if yes, how did you overcome those situations? And if no, why do you think so?
So it's interesting. I mean, I think that for a lot of women in STEM, there will be stories of being challenged. And, when you asked the question, one memory that came to mind, I had been speaking at a conference in Kigali and showcasing some VR work. And then later, some men came to me, some North African men who were very curious about the technology and very interested. And they said, "We'd like to speak to your boss." And, I said, "Oh, that's great, but I'm the founder." So,
I'm the boss.
Yeah. And then they said again, "Well, we'd like to speak to your boss." And I'm like, I don't know how you're going to do this, chaps, because right here in front of you, this is it, kind of. So definitely there have been conversations like that. There have also been, situations where it's just like people like, why are you doing this? I think there's a mixture of, being a woman, but then also the technologies that you're working with and where you're doing it. And they're just like, wait a second, does this add up? On the flip side, though, I will say that because XR, has broad applications across almost every sector, you have all sorts of amazing people that play in the space and that do embrace women. So there have been two sides to it, right? Where you have people that are particularly welcoming. There are some really great sort of like women in XR groups that are starting up where they really go out of their way to support each other. So I have had that experience as well.
Okay. Thank you. Off the air, I would like to find out how that experience ended with the gentlemen and if they proceeded. But for now, let me jump to Dr. Ekine, who is an associate professor of education. So ma'am, have you found that there are more female or male students drawn to STEM fields? Could it be as a result of this leaky pipeline if there really is a tilt? So please tell us about this.
Excuse me. Well, when we talk about leaky pipeline, what we mean is that at the foundational level, there is really no difference. But as you go up, you see that women and girls just, it's like a tap, a pipe that is burst and you don't even know, but the drop of water is just leaking. You just find out that your whole tank is gone overnight. So little by little, drop by drop, the girls and the women are coming out or getting away from STEM as they progress in their educational career.
Do we know why? Do we have any reasons why? Any postulation?
There's so many reasons by research, so many reasons. The major reason is the gender stereotype. Right from young, especially, not only even in Africa, even in Asia, it's just now that they're getting over. Everybody thinks that STEM is for boys, or especially maths. And maths is the basis. If you don't know maths, you can't succeed in physics and further maths and STEM, engineering and all those. So the way they teach maths is another problem. We teach it abstractly. Girls like storytelling. Girls like things they can apply to their lives. Girls like things that are real. So teachers present their courses too abstract for girls in secondary school. So they just can't relate to it. When you have girls and women going into sciences, you see them more in the life sciences, medicine and pharmacy and things like that. So we have the gender stereotype, we have the methodology, or what we call the classroom dynamics of what happened within the classes. And most times you see that maybe the girls they don't have role models. Most science teachers in secondary school, majority are male. So when you don't have somebody to mirror something to you, you just go away. You just think I'm the only one here. And then people, they treat you like a nerd. They think you as if you're a rebel or you are just a tomboy. What are you doing here? Especially if you are the only one in the engineering class, which is what really happened in those days. Now we're having more girls or more women. But even when they finish as an engineer, you see, because of family structures, because of family care, some don't even end up practicing as engineers or as software engineers and things like that, because the family structure comes in. You are pregnant, you can't climb. If you're an electronics engineer, you can't climb, you can't do this. If you're in the building tech, they'll just give you a lot of orders to climb. If you get a job, they'll tell you can't get pregnant. And I'm wondering, the brain is not related to the pregnancy. You need a woman's brain, yes, to solve the problem. So those are the things that some of us have become an advocate of this, that you have to keep telling people the brain of the woman is even more wired for STEM, because STEM is a discipline that is, you do a lot of things. You are multitasking at the same time, and women are wired to multitask. So when we deny women the ability to go into STEM, we're denying ourselves of the progress that we need from them. So I've just mentioned 3, but there's so many other things
there's so many
that
more.
affect so many,
Thank you. And these 3 you have highlighted and have made us think, and I'm sure many of our listeners are also going, oh, really, I hadn't thought about it that way. Thank you so much, Dr. Ekine. Ada, as an advocate for female representation in STEM education or tech, how do you think women should be better supported to excel in respective fields? Why do you think it's important to spotlight women in tech or education as models for young girls, leading from what Dr. Ekine said?
Yes, so I feel like Dr. Ekine really hit the nail on the head, because I was going to talk about this. Representation does matter a lot, especially while growing up. And I see myself as the youngest on this panel, so I can definitely relate to everything that she has said, right from primary to secondary school to uni. I literally had to drop my interest for engineering and focus on biology, like I said earlier, because I didn't see it. It wasn't relatable, right? It's important for these younger girls to see women like this, to know that things like this are achievable. Some of the programs that we run at TASUED Africa includes providing opportunities, training opportunities and programs for girls in secondary school. And every single year that we run this program, we get a lot of testimonials from these girls saying they never knew this was even something they could do, right? So representation does matter a lot, right? Exposing these girls to these opportunities. And it's not just about representation. Like, okay, fine, we let them say that there are women doing things like them, there are girls also doing things like them, but are we also providing them with resources? If we look at the African tech ecosystem, or bringing down to the African continent on its own, right? A lot of people, regardless of gender, don't have primary access to some of these basic resources. And then when you look at stereotypes and all, it's a lot more for the female gender, for girls. You see girls who have that talent, you see girls who have that zeal, that motivation to grow, but they can't access resources. So we're providing them with these resources. I mean, yes, some of their schools provide them with resources. Another thing that we do at TASUED, because one of the constant things that we continue to learn at TASUED Africa is exposing us to some of these biases, some of these challenges that these girls do that many people don't even know about. So currently right now, we're running our laptop scholarship program, right? And it's meant to go out every quarter. We gift girls with brand new laptops every quarter. And just for Q1, we've gotten over 300 applications. And reading through each of these applications, it really just breaks my heart, because many girls out there have the opportunity, because it's no longer a thing of let's get girls into tech. These girls are interested, but they don't have these resources. So we're learning how to code on their phones, so like providing them with these resources, representation as well. Those two things are basic things, right? It's it's if you're saying you're going to give them access to maybe learning platforms, how are they going to learn with those platforms that you're giving them? Because they're going to have a device to learn with. So those two things are really, really important.
Fantastic, thank you. So providing the
representation,
tools, representation, and let's also add maybe some policy, because Dr. Ekine said some things that could be policy issues. So 3 major ways. Thank you so much. Judith, the question for you is, you have a great deal of experience in the technology sector. What do you think about the global aspirations for gender parity in various sectors by 2030? Do you think that more women leaders are indeed emerging in the field of tech? Do you think we would have achieved that parity in in 8 years? In just 8 years, what do you think should be done to accelerate the progress?
So just props to the co-panelists, because I think they hit on so many of the issues that are so relevant. And I particularly want to talk about, what Ada mentioned when she was speaking about primary access. If I talk about sort of like the technology space I play in, I think that's especially critical, right? When you're just thinking about infrastructure. And then I think when you juxtapose that across, against the society that we exist in, where there are so many more limitations for you if you're a girl child or if you're a woman, one typical example is that for the XR technologies, for example, there's a lot more access, a lot more resources available if you're in Lagos. And now typically, we would see a lot of young men who would just pack their bags from wherever they are, and their families are okay with them heading off to Lagos, finding somewhere to hang out, that sort of thing. Not so much for the young women, you know what I mean? So real challenges there around like, okay, where am I going to stay? Things like that, where, it really is just this heartbreaking situation, in my opinion. Alongside that, there's this, I suppose, sensitization that happens in terms of, social norms. So I remember one example when this was a few years back, and we were recruiting a young woman into a technology role. And, we, in that organization, we'd like to find out what other interests people had beyond software development, because we thought, it would enhance their ability to succeed. And she told me that one of the things that she liked to do was to drum. And I was like, oh, that's really fantastic.
Okay.
Can you like drum, a little bit for me, and everything. And she's like, oh, she doesn't do it anymore. And I said, well, why not? And she's like, well, because it's for boys. And I don't need to tell you how that completely threw me. Like, it was just this, for me, I thought so terribly sad that something, as basic as drumming, someone had already decided that it's for boys. And I think we see it in so many other things where you're just limiting like all of this extraordinary potential in women. I don't think there's any other way to describe it. So in terms of getting there in 2030 to that gender parity, I think we have a lot of work to do. And speaking to what we've heard about the leaking pipeline, I think it has to start so much earlier. And I think that, there's an equal amount of work that has to happen with the parents right now, letting them know that, you have to open this up to everyone. And I often tell people, because they're like, oh, how can we get, interested in these technologies? And I'm like, you don't necessarily need to build, but encourage someone next to you, particularly encourage the girl that or the young woman that help them get started, because it makes such a difference.
Yes, thank you very much. 2 major interventions: start early by including parents in the conversation. So to all our parents who are listening, please ensure you join our EdTech Monday channel. Tell us about your thoughts. In what ways can we amplify the achievement of women as a means of promoting gender equity in the fields of education and technology? Join our channel on Telegram, EdTech Mondays Nigeria. Send us a text or WhatsApp message on 0703-165-0809. That is 0703-165-0809, and share your thoughts. Our final question, I'll ask us to take this really quickly, just one-liners. In the spirit of the International Women's Day celebration, what advice would you give to women who are entering and hoping to succeed in respective fields of STEM? Ada, may I start with you?
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
I would simply say look beyond your gender and be willing to strive for greatness. That's really just because it's so normal for people to see your gender first before they see your skill. But I need you to look beyond your gender and understand that it's really just up there.
Thank you. Look beyond your gender for your greatness. Judith, please, your thoughts.
Just to say to you out there, we are here to help. You don't have to do it alone. Reach out.
Thank you. Reach out. And finally, Dr. Ekine.
Well, I'll say that believe in yourself, that you can do it.
Fantastic. Believe in you. Thank you all so much for being such inspirations, even to me and to all our listeners out there, both male and female. Keep shining, keep doing what you do. For those who are wondering, how can we get in touch with these wonderful women, since they said reach out, join our channel on Telegram, EdTech Mondays Nigeria. Don't worry, we'll make it happen by God's grace. Or send us a text or WhatsApp message 0703-165-0809. My name is Joyce Daniels. It's been an honor hosting us once again. We look forward to having you join us again next time on this same station next month. Bye for now.